What if the person you treated like dirt held the power to change your entire future? Chris Williams was about to find out the hard way. At TechCore, where executives ruled and cleaning staff were ignored, one woman was quietly observing everything, and she wasn't who they thought. In a world of arrogance, karma is always lurking, just around the corner. At TechCore, one of the top firms in Chicago, everything was fast-paced. Deals closed in towering skyscrapers with stunning city views, and employees moved with purpose. But on this particular day, someone new was in the building. Her name was Rachel Scott, but to everyone else, she was just the new cleaner. She wore a simple uniform, a plain blue shirt, black pants, and comfortable shoes. Her hair was pulled back, and she pushed her cart quietly down the hall. Nobody knew that Rachel was actually the true owner of TechCore. A few years prior, she had entrusted her cousin, Adam Scott, to run the company as acting chief executive officer, stepping back to focus on her personal life. But Rachel wanted to know how things were truly running behind the scenes, so she'd returned, incognito. It didn't take long for Rachel to observe the attitudes of the management, especially Chris Williams, the chief operating officer. Tall, impeccably dressed in tailored suits, he carried an air of superiority that dismissed people like her as invisible. On her first day, as Rachel swept the hallway outside his office, Chris glanced over at her. "Hey, new girl," he called out, "you missed a spot." He pointed to a pristine section of the floor. Rachel gave him a polite smile and went back to work, but Chris wasn't finished. "You should be grateful for a job like this," he added with a smug grin. "Some people don't even get inside a building like TechCore. Don't mess it up." Inside, Rachel was fuming. This was her company, and she was determined not to let anyone treat her like an outsider. But she kept her cool and continued playing her role. Over the next few weeks, Rachel's frustration grew. Every day, she saw the true culture within TechCore. The employees were talented, hard-working, and committed, but the upper management, they were a different story. Chris Williams, as chief operating officer, held too much power and used it in all the wrong ways, showing blatant disrespect to junior staff and taking liberties wherever he could. The only people he seemed to care about were the board members, though even they weren't spared from his arrogance. Then there was Linda Park, head of human resources, who constantly belittled the office staff and acted as if allowing them to work at TechCore was a personal favor, and Andrew Blake, the chief financial officer, who freely dipped into company funds for his own luxuries. But Chris's attitude toward Rachel was the worst. He'd often linger near her, dropping inappropriate remarks. "You're too pretty to be cleaning floors," he'd say with a wink. "Play your cards right, and I'll find you something better." One afternoon, Chris approached her in the break room. "Listen, Rachel," he began in a low voice, "you'd be a lot better off if you played along." His eyes narrowed with a hint of menace. "Or I'll make sure you're out by next week." Rachel held her ground, aware that he had no idea he was threatening the real boss. She wanted to expose him right there, but she needed more time to assess the rest of the team. Every few days, her cousin Adam would check in with her to hear how things were going. "It's worse than I thought," she told him one evening. "Chris and the others are ruining TechCore, but I'm not ready to act just yet." Adam nodded. "Take your time. When you're ready, they won't know what hit them." Chris's advances only escalated, his demands growing more aggressive. One evening, he cornered her in the parking lot. "Meet me in my office tonight," he insisted, "or I'll have you fired by tomorrow, and good luck finding another job." Rachel's patience snapped. She was done pretending. It was time to reveal the truth. The next morning, Rachel arrived at TechCore, not in her cleaner's attire, but in a sharp black suit that demanded respect. Her hair was neatly styled, and she exuded confidence. Adam had arranged a meeting with the board and the entire management team, including Chris. As Rachel entered the boardroom, Chris looked her over, clearly confused. Then he smirked. "Are you lost, sweetheart?" "This is a board meeting." Rachel didn't respond immediately. She walked confidently to the head of the table where Adam was waiting. "Before we start today's meeting," he announced, "I'd like to introduce someone important, Rachel Scott, the true owner and founder of TechCore." A hush fell over the room as Chris's face drained of color. Rachel looked directly at him. "For the past few months I've been here as a cleaner," she began, her voice steady. "I needed to see for myself how my company was being run." Chris stammered, trying to speak, but Rachel continued. "Mr. Williams, you've harassed and intimidated employees, misused your power, and acted against everything this company stands for." Chris finally found his voice. Miss Scott, I had no idea." "Exactly," Rachel replied coldly. "You had no idea who I was, but that doesn't excuse how you treated me or anyone else here." Adam stepped forward. "Effective immediately, Chris Williams. You're fired. Security will escort you out, and legal action will follow." Chris slumped in his seat, utterly defeated, as security arrived. Rachel then addressed the board. "For those who acted with integrity, your jobs are safe, but anyone who contributed to the toxic culture will face consequences." Several members of the upper management were dismissed on the spot, fear and regret palpable as Rachel listed their names. When the dust settled, only a few remained, looking at Rachel with newfound respect. "TechCore will be a place of respect and innovation," Rachel told them. "Starting today, we rebuild." Under Rachel's leadership, TechCore thrived, and those who once laughed at the cleaner now admired her strength and vision. Karma had done its work, and TechCore was stronger than ever. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories of resilience and redemption.